So we're back into CodeCatalyst, and now we're going to look at how the actual blueprint code looks like that we created. For that, we're going to jump back into the demo blueprint project that we created, which is an actual blueprint. And in there, we are now going to look at the existing source code that we have. And for that, I'm going to jump over into the source code repository. And obviously, I could bring up a dev environment right now, but I'm still more the local development person. So I'm going to copy the Git URL. Then I'm going to go to my local folder, doing a git clone. And this is now has downloaded my blueprint code. As you can see, I've been building some stuff for the next videos already, but for today we're going to look at the folder that we just imported. I think we called that BP for demo. Yeah, so let's have a look. BP for demo. Yes, of course, I trust the CodeCatalyst team for creating Seeker code, and now we can see what the structure of this one is. We have a README, which is the description of my blueprint. We have getting started page, which gives us some details around how to get started. This page is unfortunately not yet open sourced at the time of recording this video, but I hope that when you look at this, you might be able to access this wiki, which was probably going to have a lot of details around how to build blueprints. For today, we'll need to live with what we have. This one exposes using Yarn over here, but I know, and because I've tried that before, that I'm also able to do npm, use npm, which is what I usually use. So let's go deep into that project, and let's do npm install for now. This is going to install my packages and dependencies. While we do that, let's have a look on the project structure. So over here we have our CodeCatalyst folder, which has the blueprint release workflow. It actions some specific things, as you can see over here. And then we also see that it uses the publish blueprint action, which is natively built by the CodeCatalyst team. We have the project directory. Please don't touch anything over here. This is because it's generated code. We have details around the package and project JSON. I don't want to touch that right now, but keep in mind, if you want to change anything, always do that in the project RC, because this is going to be used if you regenerate your code ever again. We then have the static assets directory, as I already mentioned in the video that we had before. This is really important because this is where you can store static assets that you want to reuse as part of your code. This will be essentially also the place to store your CDK code, your Lambda function code, or anything that you later want to deploy. In the source directory, you now see that there is a blueprint.ts. This is going to be the main file of everything that you do in your blueprint, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit more details. And we have an index.json, which essentially only exports the blueprint and the defaults. And we have a default JSON, which sets the defaults for the different parameters. And we have wizard configurations, which we can then use to execute specific tests. Over here in the blueprints file, there's some explanation on how this actually works. You also can see that the referred npm package is the Amazon CodeCatalyst and then blueprints component workflow, which you can also find in your npm package library if you want to look into the details. As I've executed npm install over here, I will now also be able to look into the different interfaces and actually what the types that the team has exposed, and this is really helpful as long as the wiki is not yet available. I already showed you last time that the options translate to a specific part of the wizard. We have this nested piece, and I don't really like nested stuff, so I'm gonna just get rid of this and remove this from our wizard. I have my blueprint class over here, which has a constructor. The constructor does do specific things. It initializes the types, as you can see over here. It initializes a source code repository, which has the name code. I don't really like that, so let's change that and make it a blueprint demo. Then this blueprint collects all of the static assets, so everything that is within this static assets directory. How do I know that? Well, I can jump into this class, and here I will see that is going to traverse against around the static assets directory. And then it's going to create a new source file within this given repository, and it's going to, in the path of this asset, store the content of the asset. This is pretty powerful, right? Because here I can also start and do some and change and modify the content of this one. So even though this is a static asset today, I could now change the Python file here and do some replacements as well. Over here you then see that the environment is being built. You see that there is a workflow builder that is triggered on the main branch. So let's change the name of this workflow and make it a main workflow. Then the branch trigger for this one is main. And obviously we need to write this somehow to a workflow file, which is being done down here in the same way as project constructs are being used. We then also define or set up a workspace, and this workspace can be used later to use that in your dev environment if you ever want to use that in the project that you've generated from that. This seems pretty simple. It's TypeScript code today. I don't think that I ever need anything else with TypeScript because everyone should be writing TypeScript today. But now what I can do with this one is I can do npm run blueprint synth, and this is going to synthesize the blueprint locally and drive it in a way and generate it in a way that I will be able to look at the code that is being generated out of this. So if we now look at the results of the synth, we will now see locally on how this generated code is going to look like if we ever use this within within CodeCatalyst itself. As you can see here, we have generated a source directory which is named blueprint demo. Over there we have a dev file, we have a main, we have a markdown, we have the CodeCatalyst here. Now the workflow has the name main workflow. This is essentially what we did over here, right? So you can really see that you can replicate what CodeCatalyst does with the corresponding blueprint definition over here and translates that to how this proposed bundle will look like in the moment that you use this blueprint within CodeCatalyst. And this is pretty powerful because it speeds up your local development workflow. I'll leave it with that as a short introduction into how the code looks like in CodeCatalyst. Now, in order to publish this, there is two different options. I can execute npm blueprint double column preview to generate a preview version and put this into the catalog, put this into the CodeCatalyst environment as long as I'm an administrator. But I can also just do an npm push, git push, and push this into the CodeCatalyst environment, which is when the workflow that we looked at earlier, the blueprint release workflow, is actually going to be triggered and is going to produce a new version of the blueprint if you are on the main branch. A lot of more stuff to say. As you can see, you can directly get started by just changing the blueprint.ts, then add this to Git, push this to CodeCatalyst itself, and then you're going to have a new version of this blueprint. So thanks a lot for watching this short introduction into the blueprint sources, and I'm looking forward to tell you more and teach you more about how blueprints can be used and can be adjusted to be more successful going forward.